No, so tu sabe. So, ladies and gentlemen, now people are saying the video footage that came out was fake. These people are saying that it was edited, it was too blurry. Yes, the video footage was extremely blurry, but it seems like all the excuses are coming out of the woodworks for the defense of Carmelo Anthony. But let you speed 5, 10 miles above the speed limit without getting grace from the police officer. But a man can bring a pocket knife on school property and get the whole support of the black community. I'm just trying to understand, ladies and gentlemen, and put two and two together.
I'm dancing, you ain't gonna do shit. 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 I'm dancing, you ain't gonna do shit.
The passion from the black community, see, we're mixing cases. Was there a lot of cases that was done wrongfully on the black? Absolutely, but this is not that case. We cannot play victim just because of the color of your skin. Then they want to say, well, how come there wasn't a single black jury among the members? Well, that's why you have to do your research, ladies and gentlemen. They said that they did not have the heart to judge their own. So before you quit to jump the gun and, oh man, Carmelo Anthony didn't get a first. Well, once again, the peers of the black community did not want to judge Carmelo Anthony. So that is why there was all white jurors in the first place. But if you go on just the narrative, you would think, oh, Carmelo Anthony didn't have a fair case. Also, he was defended by a public attorney. Now, what is a public attorney? That is something that is going to be addressed to you for free by the judicial system. But how as the Carmelo Anthony, the parents getting funded millions of dollars from support? Charleston White even was promoting the Carmelo Anthony family. He has now turned their backs because he realized that the family of Carmelo Anthony, the parents, are scam artists. How are you getting millions and millions of dollars in GoFundMe and donations, buying luxury vehicles, this, that, and the third, but you're giving your son a public attorney? That doesn't even make sense, ladies and gentlemen. The excuse for that is, oh, but not everyone got arrested. No, not everyone has the whereabouts to know what to do in the court of law in terms of hiring a lawyer. I call cap. Your son, Carmelo Anthony, has 35 plus years and not a single plea bargain was addressed. Many others with a lighter skin complexion have got a way lesser sentence. But Carmelo Anthony, first time offender, gets 35 plus years. And ladies and gentlemen, they was trying to give him more. They was trying to give him life in jail. It went down to 20 and they met in the middle at 35 years. But it all comes down to the premeditated decision to bring a knife in the first place. Why did Carmelo Anthony bring a knife to a high school track meet in the first place? I understand he was invited to that tent, but ladies and gentlemen, Carmelo Anthony was at a rival school. He was actually suspended. Then the man was asked to leave from the team captain, Austin Metcalf, rest in peace. Regardless if Austin Metcalf was bullying Carmelo Anthony, you have to add stuff into context. Carmelo Anthony had no business being there. He's at a opposition rival school and he's suspended. Austin Metcalf, the team captain, rest in peace, of his football team, shows up 8 minutes later with his brother and two other men, allegedly plus 200 pounds. I don't know why weight matters. But also, ladies and gentlemen, we have to put into account is all over social media and in real life, people are saying Carmelo Anthony has the right to defend himself. 100%. But let me tell you how they are gaslighting and moving the goalposts, ladies and gentlemen. They're saying that Carmelo Anthony has the right to carry a pocket knife on school grounds. Now, how is that legal and how is that safe for other students around him? He is an endangerment to himself and for his classmates around the entire school. You cannot bring a weapon on school grounds. But the excuse is in down south in Texas, you have the right to carry a pocket knife. Absolutely, that is correct, 100%. You also have the right to carry bear arms while even having a license to carry in Texas. Yes, you can carry that thing on your hip pocket without having it registered. But on school grounds is a whole nother conduct of regulations, rules, and guidelines. Just like when you go to your employer, they have a handbook, what to do, what not to do. But people, grown folks, and this was scary about the situation, grown folks are making excuses as if Karmelo Anthony is not in the wrong. He shouldn't have brought the knife in the first place. If you remove the knife from that situation, ladies and gentlemen, we wouldn't have even known what Karmelo Anthony, if this man even existed. We only know about this man because of the knife. Take away the knife from the situation. Two men obviously don't like each other. They would have squabbled. Somebody would have got hit. Worst case scenario, somebody would have got suspended, maybe expelled. Life would have moved on. Austin Metcalf would still be alive today. Even though he was wrong, allegedly, he will still be breathing. Why pull out a knife? You was not in the back corner alley of a New York City alley, back up against the wall. You're getting jumped by four men. Okay, pull out a knife. Your life is on the line. You're not in the back corner alley where there's no cameras. You scream for help. You're not in the woods somewhere. You're in a track meet on school property. But for some reason, content creators are missing the fact that this man, Karmelo Anthony, a senior in high school, doesn't have the prefrontal cortex to make the decision making to not bring a knife on school grounds. Now, please let me know in the chat, why did Karmelo Anthony bring a knife on school grounds? Sounds like premeditation to me. Why did you bring a knife in the first place? And the ignorance is at an all-time high. Well, you can protect yourself. You're allowed to protect yourself, especially in Texas. I understand you're allowed to protect yourself. No one is disagreeing or arguing with that statement, but you cannot bring a weapon on school grounds. So we're going to have to set the record straight on that. Remove the knife from the situation, we wouldn't have even known Karmelo Anthony existed. Add the knife back into the equation and look at the knife. Ladies and gentlemen, they were saying all the excuses in the book, saying that Karmelo Anthony got a weapon from shop in high school, trying to correlate the knife to the one that has all the bells and whistles, the can opener, the wine opener. No, it was a straight up pocket knife. Now, why in the HELL hockey sticks would you bring a knife on school grounds, ladies and gentlemen? Can you please let me know in the comment section? Why would you bring a pocket knife on school grounds? Now, I've gotten stuff taken away on school grounds for way left, such as I bought a T99 calculator back in elementary, thinking I was somebody trying to show out, got that taken away. I've gotten Game Boys taken away, never seen that again. But Karmelo Anthony, a 17-year-old, now 19, uses his God-given brain to bring a knife. Now, if you get caught with that, you're going to get a felony, if I'm not mistaken. School grounds, and you bringing a weapon on school grounds? But you have a numerous amount of content creators defending Karmelo Anthony. No, let's talk about the elephant in the room. He wouldn't be in this situation in the first place if he didn't bring a knife on school grounds. Because let's keep it a stack, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone in the chat, you have been, well, not you, but some, a lot, have been in situations in high school, grade school, and by the grace of God, you have made it out. You learned your lesson, you got your ass cooked. Hard head makes a soft bottom, but you was able to learn from that lesson and not make the same choice again because your life wasn't on the line. You may have fought in school, gave your parents a headache, high blood pressure, going to the court system. You may have skipped school, truancy, all these things, ladies and gentlemen. My point is, you had the opportunity to learn from your lesson and see the brighter day. Austin Metcalf doesn't have that opportunity to see the sun come up again because somebody wants to bring a knife to school. But yet, the community wants to defend Karmelo Anthony like he was getting bullied, like he was in a back corner alley getting jumped. He was in open space. He could have left. He could have fled the scene. He wanted to fight. He wanted to retaliate. And I'm pretty sure Austin Metcalf said some very controversial takes to get to get Karmelo Anthony to do what he did. He probably said the hard ER. He probably said NIGGER, the hard ER. He probably said who knows what he said. It still does not justify the acts of Karmelo Anthony. We got to stop the cap. The cap is at an all-time high. And big 2026, are we really capping? But let it be your own. See, people don't know the severity of the situation until the situation happens to them or one of their loved ones. Let it be your own. God forbid you send your kid to high school, and you know how kids are. They're going to fight. They're going to scrabble. They're going to be, for goodness sake. I remember going to middle school, grade school, every single day after class. Well, when school was out, there was a fight, and we moved around. We went home, and we went to school the next day. We was able to live. Austin Metcalf doesn't have that opportunity because somebody wants to pull out a knife. A black man. Now, if Austin Metcalf would have pulled out a knife first or a weapon of his choice, then absolutely Karmelo Anthony has grounds to defend himself with the same weapon. But there was no weapon being reported that Austin Metcalf had. And this is not a race issue. I don't know why they're trying to push it so bad to be a race issue, like Austin Metcalf was just some type of and ladies and gentlemen, let it be one of your own. God forbid. Would you give all the excuses for Karmelo Anthony? Oh, he was getting bullied. Oh, he fell and Austin Metcalf fell on top of him and the knife just thrusted in Austin Metcalf's chest like he's a vamp. Would you give all these excuses if that was one of your own that you sent to school? And the sad part is that, as a parent, when you send your child to school, that is the last thing you want to hear, is that your child is no longer breathing. Then when you find out how he was deceased, I mean, my goodness, may God be with Austin Metcalf family. I know he said a lot of controversial takes, but nobody wishes death upon anyone. Example, look at Charlie Kirk. People was glorifying Charlie Kirk's death all because of his controversial takes. That is cap. The man was just speaking his mind. You may not agree with his personal opinion, but to go as much to glorify somebody's death because you disagree with their take is demonic work. And ladies and gentlemen, take heed to people glorifying the next man passing away. That is satanic. You can disagree all you want, but to glorify death, nasty ass work. Let's go into the tapes, ladies and gentlemen. We have to stop the cap. These boys talking about Karmelo Anthony had a weapon from shop, so he was allowed to walk around school grounds. They was making all the excuses, but when the actual evidence comes out, what do they say? The next excuse is, oh, the video footage that was released was fake.
If evidence does come out that Karmelo was not in fact fighting for his life when he stabbed and killed Austin Metcalf, do you think that the black community will accept that?
If evidence shows that he did not, no, we're going to stand by ours regardless. They stand by theirs. We're going to stand by ours regardless.
And this is the ignorance that, makes, unfortunately makes black people look bad because you can feel some type of way, but emotions and facts are two different things. If the evidence comes out, would you still stand by Carmelo Anthony? And she says, if the evidence is against Carmelo Anthony, I'm still going to stand by him. What? So that is the same reason why people voted for Barack Obama. They wasn't doing the research on his political views. They didn't know his agenda. They just saw the color of his skin and they was like, you know what? My vote is for this guy. That is crazy work.
I'm dancing, you ain't gonna do shit. 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 I'm dancing, you ain't gonna do shit.
So these people are celebrating, well, they're not celebrating, but they are defending Carmelo Anthony when he is we can't even say that on YouTube. He is a red rum backwards. Same thing for in 2020, George Floyd. They gave that man a statue. Like the selective outrage is crazy, but let it be one of our own. You won't even hear a peep. But Carmelo Anthony, he is the guy that committed the crime, but they treating him like he's the victim. You should have never had a knife in the first place. And also we have to put blame on the parents because the parents is a reflection on the kid or vice versa. The kid is a reflection of the parents. But instead, the parents want to give their son a public attorney. Getting served 35 years. Ladies and gentlemen, this man, Carmelo Anthony, is cooked. And we can't feel sorry for him because he's the one that brought the knife. It'd be another situation if, Carmelo Anthony was getting jumped. You see bruises on his face. You see him in the hospital on life support. And then you find out he took somebody else in the midst of that. Okay, he has a case. It wasn't even close to that. The man has a knife in his. Who brings a knife to a track meet? The only thing I'm worried about when I go to a track meet is if I have bread to go to the concession stands after I'm done participating in my event. Once I'm done running my little 400, my little 200, okay, it's time to go to the concession stands. It's time to socialize. It's time to live your youth and be happy. The last thing on my mind is to take out somebody, especially when I'm not even supposed to be there in the first place. Then when I'm asked to leave, I want to give the rebuttal, put your hands on me and see what happens. Does that sound like premeditation? Would he say that same statement if he didn't have that pocket knife in his backpack? The man pulled out a pocket knife like he was in the Bronx, New York, about to get jumped in the back alley. Stop. And it's not like he was in a ghetto high school. Carmelo Anthony is serving 35 years because of a boneheaded decision to bring a weapon on school grounds. And you have defenders supporting Carmelo Anthony because they think he's the victim, or because why? Because he's a skinny black dude that weighs what, $130? That's all it takes is to be skinny and black and have twists on the head or dreads on the head, and you get the support of the black community. Like, we got to stop the cat. Blacks, not all blacks, but blacks, we looking real sad, bruh. Talking about if the evidence comes out against Carmelo Anthony, you're still going to support your own. Stop the cap. But let it be your own kid. Unfortunately, God forbid, being deleted in that same situation. Would you have that same energy? You know you will not. So why you capping? Just because he's a white boy? So, ladies and gentlemen, I think this situation also with the Charlie Kirk situation is exposing hidden racists. Glorifying the next man's death. He was the team captain. He approached Carmelo Anthony underneath a tent 8 minutes later because Carmelo Anthony was there first, told the man to leave because he wasn't supposed to be there. Then people want to say, oh, is it Jim Crow's law? Is it the Jim Crow laws? What you mean he wasn't supposed to be there? Ladies and gentlemen, he was suspended. Also, those two schools, Carmelo Anthony School and Austin Metcalf School, are rivals. If I'm the team captain and I'm able to receive the news that the opposition is at my property, well, not technically his property, but on his school, because he's a team captain, then yeah, if I'm able to approach the op, I'm gonna tell the op to move around. I remember in grade school when I was playing football, we fought in the middle of the game. That's how much the beef was. I mean, helmets being thrown. Who's the guy that threw that helmet in football? Miles Garrett. I mean, we was Miles Garrett before Miles Garrett, ladies and gentlemen. Throwing helmets on the football field. The whole game had to stop. The opposing team had to get on their bus and leave school grounds. But Karmelo Anthony wants to sit back, relax on the opposition team school with a pocket knife in his backpack, and he's getting defended. Why? Can we make sense of this situation? If your kid, your son, was in the boat in the same shoes as Austin Metcalf, would you have sympathy for Carmelo Anthony? Let me go to the votes. We got 94 votes in the building. The voting says Carmelo Anthony using a knife at school, self-defense. 81% says no, and 19% says yes. So y'all, you can't make this up.
I be trying to laugh with the bros.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have people saying, voting Carmelo Anthony using a knife is self-defense on school grounds. Please, in the chat, explain to me how this is legal to bring a knife to school. How is that legal? Because it's legal in the streets, but it's not legal on school grounds. Stop the cap.
If evidence does come out that Karmelo was not in fact fighting for his life when he stabbed and killed Austin Metcalf, do you think that the black community will accept that?
If evidence shows that he did not, no, we're gonna stand by ours regardless. They stand by theirs.
Bruh. Where's the wrong soundbite? Give me a second. We're gonna have to. If evidence comes out against Karmelo Anthony, would you still stand by him? And she says yes, because they stand by theirs. The ignorance. Does she know, or does she even care she's being recorded? I don't think she cares, because she's making direct eye contact with the lens. She is fully competent in what she's talking about. Human being, real life adults, entities rocking this green planet have this type of mindset. If the evidence comes out against Karmelo Anthony, are you still going to stand by him? And her response is yes, because they stand by theirs.
We're gonna stand by ours regardless. I'm a mother first. I'm a black mother. Let me put that on there. I'm an African American mother. So I have to put away my color first and step in.
You know what's sad about the situation is that it's a very simple case. But yet certain YouTubers, certain content creators are making video after video after video defending Karmelo Anthony, saying that he is the victim, saying that he was justified for bringing a knife. They even said so much that it's legal to bring a knife on school grounds. Ladies and gentlemen, how is it legal to bring a weapon on school grounds? Like, it's not an educational school system to keep the students safe and to educate. If it's so bad that you got to bring a pocket knife, maybe you need to transfer. Maybe you need to have a talk of a counselor. Like, what is going on? And we got to also add this into context. Karmelo Anthony didn't go to some ghetto school in the hood. No, it was predominant. It was mostly white. Now, we're not going to cap and say that there's not going to be tension regardless of skin color. There's always going to be tension. But to bring a pocket knife when the original aggressor, Austin Metcalf, he didn't pull out a pocket knife. Let's go with the narrative that Austin Metcalf was bullying Karmelo Anthony, even though he's in the opposition team school and he's suspended. Let's stick with the narrative that Austin Metcalf was bullying Karmelo Anthony. Even so, how does that justify pulling out a pocket knife? But grown folks are saying, oh yeah, he had the right to defend himself. He's a little black boy weighing 130 pounds. He was scared for his life. Then they even try to add a story saying that Austin Metcalf fell on top of Carmelo Anthony, and that's what happened. See, it all. What is the common denominator about this case, ladies and gentlemen? Please let me know in the chat. What is the common denominator? 5 seconds. I'm gonna see if someone says the answer before I give it to y'all. What is the common denominator that could have avoided everything? Still probably would have received some type of punishment, but not to that degree. The common denominator is Carmelo Anthony bringing a knife to school. People bring in extra money to school. The parents, you know what I'm saying, thinking their kid has $5 in their pocket. Meanwhile, they got $30. They're going crazy on lunch, gets caught up. The teacher's like, yo, so-and-so little Johnny went crazy on lunch. Did you give Johnny? And now the parent is having a parent-teacher conference because Johnny is pocketing his parents' purse, buying extra in a, you know what I'm saying? People get caught with way less, but it's still understandable. What was the intention for Carmelo Anthony bringing that knife? Now he has to sleep with that for the next 35 years on the decision making of bringing a knife to school. He's going to ask himself every single time, every day, why did I bring a knife to school? He could have used your two hands. You're so much of a punk, you didn't want to use your hands. It is a privilege to defend yourself, to be healthy, and to show what you got. But you wanted to give the opposition no chance at all and delete him from this planet because of a little rivalry, because he's, quote, racist. Even if Austin Metcalf did say a racial slur, words broke you so bad. You felt some type of way that you had to delete him from this earth. Do you hear how cowardly that is, ladies and gentlemen? Because we're not going to lie, words do have some type of impact, but so much so it gives justification to take somebody's life away. Then you got people supporting Carmelo Anthony. That's what even adds salt to the wounds. You have an individual committing a crime that should have never taken place, right? Then you have Carmelo Anthony defenders saying that he had the right to bring a knife to school. Like, can we really believe these NPCs? Now, what is an NPC? An NPC, ladies and gentlemen, is someone that is just going through the motions and not even thinking twice about it. They can't use their God-given brain and decipher and use the spirit of discernment to understand. This is not a complicated case. This is not OJ Simpson. I'm not black, I'm OJ. This is not OJ Simpson with a knife. This is a high school student making a boneheaded decision. And I'm just trying to go into Carmelo Anthony's psyche and think, why in the first place did you even bring a weapon? And why was you there even though he was invited? I would never go to the opposing member school that I know is a rival. How does that make sense? You're looking for trouble. If it wasn't the knife, it was definitely going to be a fight.
To the motherhood. Nobody wants to see their child slain. So I do want to send prayers to Austin Metcalf, their family. But at the end of the day, I got to think like, okay, what did you do to them or whatever to cause this to happen, the reaction? We got to start taking accountability for our kids. Because then again, if my kid, that's why it's a catch-22, if my kid was Carmelo and I feel like his back was up against the wall, well, I'm going to tell you straight up, better mine than yours. Better mine than yours. So either way it go, everybody loses. A black boy allegedly murdered, and I say allegedly, heavy on the allegedly murdered somebody.
No, it's not allegedly. Once again, this is not a situation where Carmelo Anthony was in a back alley with his back up against the wall. He has nowhere to run, and he's surrounded by white people, white tea people, and they pull out weapons. Then okay, absolutely, you have the right to defend yourself. No, this is in high school at a track meet, open area. He wasn't back up against nowhere. He was underneath a tent. And also, ladies and gentlemen, they were saying that It was raining so bad. It was a category 5 hurricane that Carmelo Anthony just had to rush on a shelter. If you look at the tape, the rain wasn't even raining, it was drizzling. All the excuses. So one, they're saying that the knife wasn't a knife. Then they're saying that it was raining so hard he had to go underneath the tent. Then they're saying that Carmelo Anthony fell and Austin Metcalf fell on top of Carmelo Anthony and the knife thrusted in his chest. There's all the excuses in the book, but where are the excuses coming from? The left side? But let you speed 5, 10 miles above the speed limit. You can get away with it once or twice, but if you're going 20, 30, what is the excuse going to be? You knew what you was doing. You knew when your heavy ass foot was pushing the pedal to the metal what you was doing. You was fully competent. Sometimes you can't give an excuse to the police. 5, 10 miles, okay. 30 miles above the speed limit, there is no excuse. So if there's no excuse when you get pulled over by the police officer for speeding, why are there so many excuses for Carmelo Anthony for bringing a knife to school? This is not a speeding ticket. This case is 100 times more severe. But they're making it seem like Carmelo Anthony is a little baby. He's a victim. He wasn't the antagonist. He wasn't the catalyst. He was the victim. He was minding his business. Stop the cap.
You see what I'm saying? So yeah, this is about race. Because if the shoe was on the other foot, they wouldn't give a damn.
Who wouldn't give a damn?
The let me say this. Let's say the community.
So like if Carmelo Anthony was the one stabbed and killed by Austin Metcalf,
they wouldn't give a damn.
I come out here every Thursday and we pray for people going to court because we know this is the final frontier of racism and it's legalized here.
It was announced yesterday that there's no black jurors that were chosen. What are your thoughts on that?
That's why we need God. That's why we need God.
God has nothing to do with Carmelo Anthony deciding to bring a knife to school. You can bring so many other things. Even bear spray would have worked in his behalf. Because look at the intent behind the bear spray. You're trying to stabilize the opposition, but you're not taking his life away. Why do you need to bring a knife to school and your school's not even ghetto like that? There's just so many wrong red flags for Carmelo Anthony. And this man want to talk about we need God. God did not tell Carmelo Anthony to bring a knife to school. All the sympathy because of what? Because he's black? Now you could feel sorry for his decision making, but you can't feel sorry like he's the victim because at the end of the day, even though he's serving 35 years in federal prison, TDC, Texas Directional Center, he's going to be in there with the big boys wearing a $130. You could feel sorry for him, but you can't feel sorry because he's still alive and Austin Metcalf is not. What about Austin Metcalf? He doesn't have the opportunity to breathe. He doesn't have the opportunity to see the world. He is gone because of a little scrabble.
And that's why he's going to show who's in control.
And would you be open to giving us your personal insights into the Carmelo Anthony trial and what your thoughts are on it?
I just want justice done, you know?
I think justice was done. You know, the year this took place last year. The verdict was recently. That's why there's so many videos circulating all over the web about this situation. I think this was a fair case. If my twin brother was deleted because of a little beef, then I would want the judicial system to do what is right, because how many times have the judicial system failed? So I think they did right. They were trying to give the boy life in jail. They settled down to 35. Then, you know, another argument that I'm hearing, how come there was not a plea bargain being taken place? People doing the same charge with lighter skin complexion got lesser time. So what's the difference of Carmelo Anthony and those other people with lighter skin complexion? How come they can serve 4 to 10 years and Carmelo Anthony gets 35 years? Well, ladies and gentlemen, one, he was defended by a public attorney. Two, he was not sympathetic, apologetic. He was not remorseful. And if somebody's coming to the courtroom not remorseful, then why would a deal be taking place? He was coming in there like he was the victim. Then the last excuse was, where's the tapes? Where's the tapes? Show the tapes. If the tapes are released, it will show clear as day that Carmelo Anthony is innocent. Ladies and gentlemen, the tapes have been released, and a certain group, I think to the left, now they're saying, oh, the tape is not edited. Like, you just can't win. You show them the evidence, you show them the knife, you show them the tape, and they still say Carmelo Anthony is innocent.
We know nobody go to a track meet to murder anybody, okay? Come on. That's an accident, self-defense, that's what it was. I'm not saying the kid should get off free, but first-degree murder? Come on. Basically, he's facing the wrong charge for the crime that was committed.
Do you think Carmelo is innocent? Do you feel like it's been an unfair response to what happened?
First degree red rum. We're gonna have to keep it YouTube friendly. Minimum is 25 years. Now, when I initially was paying attention to this case, my eyebrows did rise up a little bit. Why does Carmelo Anthony, first time offender, get a charge so significant as first degree red rum? That's very alarming. Well, the answer is he was defended by a public attorney. Second, he wasn't remorseful. He thought he was portraying his case like he was the victim. Then the man premeditated brought a knife to school. So put everything all up in one equation. And if you was, unfortunately, God forbid, if you was Austin Metcalf family, you would want justice. Is that manslaughter or is that premeditated red rum?
Happened to Carmelo Anthony?
I feel that the justice system always over-respond when it comes to us.
So Dark Stalker Knight 63 says Carmelo defending himself and Austin and his gang attacked him. Excuse me. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why I made this live. I hear excuses, but once again, there is no crime in defending yourself. The crime is, why did you bring a knife on school grounds? If Carmelo Anthony never had the knife, as a matter of fact, if he never pulled a knife, he could have still had the knife in his possession, fought Austin Metcalf, and he would have been nowhere close to trouble as he is in right now. He's in hot water. TDC prison in Texas, down south, down in the dirty south. He is cooked. Why did you pull out a knife in the first place? You are not in New York City, Bronx, New York, back up against the wall in a back alley corner with the lights dimmering, blinking on and off. Now the lights completely off. You're outnumbered. Your phone is turned off, and you only have an option is to pull out a knife. Okay, you have a case, because now when you go to the courtroom, you can say to the jury and the judge the situation. You're not in that situation. You're not in a back alley. You're in high school track meet, open field, with coaches everywhere, adults everywhere. If he was really threatened, you could have ran and screamed. If he was really feeling some type of way. But you stood there. You was underneath the tent and you wanted to prove a point, and your point was proven. And now you did the crime, you got to do the time. The common denominator, ladies and gentlemen, is the knife. Remove the knife from the situation. Carmelo Anthony's not in that deep of trouble. But people want to say, such as Doc Starker, and you're entitled to your opinion, but people like Doc Starker want to say that he had the right to defend himself. Everyone has a right to defend himself, but you don't have a right to pull out a knife at school. Like, what? The excuses are crazy. Average says over responding, stabbing someone for getting shoved. Absolutely. Me myself, when I went to high school, I got pushed. I turned around and I became Mike Tyson mixed with Ali, mixed with Floyd Mayweather, mixed with Pacquiao. I didn't even give the opportunity for the person that pushed me to punch back. What happened to me, ladies and gentlemen? I got suspended for a couple of days, had to go to court, put my people through a deal of stress of going to court and paying fees, this, that, and the third. I learned my lesson. I knew, okay, there's a time and place for everything. At the time, I was emotional and I acted upon my emotion. But at the end of the day, when I was throwing those punches, thinking I was Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, I knew that I didn't have a deadly weapon in my hand. And you know what? God forbid if that person who I was punching did pass away, then I would face the consequences. God spared my life and the person who I was punching. No one severely got hurt. We got we both got suspended. Luckily, I still was on the football team, but I digress. And life moved on. Austin Metcalf doesn't have the opportunity to move on because you're going to fight in high school. You're going to go into a disagreement among your peers, but to take their life away is disgusting work. And to get excuses for that, like the fact that I have to explain as if this is news. Like we should all understand that is not okay to bring a knife to school, but yet that is breaking news. Like, oh my gosh, he brought a knife to school. What's the big deal about that? Are y'all serious?
So definitely, I mean, you look at the charge. It was self defense. He was wrestling with two guys.
Bro, self defense. How is it self defense when you're in school? Yo, when you go out into public, be careful. Check your six because not everybody is okay up there for real. You got grown folks with gray hair on their beard, gray hair on their head, talking about it was self defense. And these are the same people we share the roads with. Man, be careful. Check your left, check your right, and check back left again before you cross the intersection because you don't know who's behind the wheel and you don't know if they have the proper decision making to make the right choice. Talking about a self defense in school. What?
Guys, I don't know what the parameters of it, but it was two people. So two against one. That's self defense.
I'm dancing, you ain't gonna do shit. 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 I'm dancing, you ain't gonna do shit.
I don't have an opinion. I don't have an opinion here.
Just like Karmelo was doing.
Ladies and gentlemen, the energy for Carmelo Anthony is sick and very alarming. This woman that's on the screen is feeling some type of way for Carmelo Anthony, and he is the one that acted upon the action to take somebody's life away. He's not the one. Now, let's flip roles. If Carmelo Anthony was the actual victim, then yeah, you should be out in the streets protesting, feeling some type of way because a life has been lost, all because of a misunderstanding, all because of a disagreement. No life should be deleted on this green planet. But the victim is not Carmelo Anthony. It is Austin Metcalf. Some people got to take the racist hate out of their heart because they're so blinded that they can't see that a life is no longer here. They only see a white boy and a black boy, and they automatically are jumping on the black boy's behalf, not even knowing the case, not knowing the situation. They're saying the video's fake. They're saying the pocket knife that was used in class. All the excuses, but accountability. Why can you not be accountable for the actions that nobody told you to do? Nobody told you to carry a knife in your book bag and pull it out. If that was the case and you had a knife in your book bag, because let's not be ignorant, you got to protect yourself. The only way you could pull out a knife if the opposing member who pushed you had a knife first. Or if you was out in the public, then you have the right to defend yourself. Somebody approaches you in the street, if you're shopping, if you're out in public, somebody comes and pushes you, you have the right to pull out a pocket knife. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, you have people saying that same situation validates being in high school, that a individual that is in high school can bring a pocket knife and it's legal. The ignorance is crazy. So let me do wrong. Am I going to have supporters like Karmelo Anthony if I'm wrong? Like, you're wrong. You shouldn't have been there. They told you to leave. You pulled out a pocket knife because somebody shoved you. Was it right for Austin Metcalf to shove Karmelo Anthony? No, you should never put your hands on anybody. That does not justify pulling out a knife. How is that complicated? But for some people, it is.
That's what Karmelo was doing. Protecting his motherfucking self.
Free Karmelo. You guys support Karmelo? Yes? Yes? We're just here with press just to record and talk to you guys and see what's going on. Okay. Okay. It's a free country. You're in public. You're in public. Okay. Okay. Well, you're in public. I'm just asking. Yeah.
Bitch, go!
Whoa.
Hey, move the camera, bro. They don't want to
It's free speech. It's free speech.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go to the polls. We got 235 votes in the building. Karmelo Anthony using a knife at school, self-defense. 76% says no, it is not self-defense. And 24% says yes. People are voting saying it's self-defense that Karmelo Anthony can bring a knife to school. What? Please explain in the comment section. Why do you think it's okay to bring a knife to school?
Why are you throwing stuff at us? Yeah, why are you throwing stuff at us? What the hell is that? All right, well, they're throwing water bottles at us while we're recording. By the way, there's signs right here that says self-defense is not a crime. Karmelo Anthony should do no time. And there's also this sign right here says hands off. And this sign says we stand with you. I believe.
What? Self-defense is not a crime. Karmelo Anthony should do no time. Well, news break. Karmelo Anthony is serving 30 plus years in the big boy pen, TDC, Texas Directional Center, at a buck weighing 130 pounds. He's done for. All because of a emotional decision of not leaving, of even being there in the first place. Also, the Karmelo Anthony defenders, one of their excuses are he was invited to the tent. And 8 minutes later, Austin Metcalf approached the tent telling Karmelo Anthony to move around. If I'm in Karmelo Anthony's shoes and the opposition is telling me to leave and I'm on his property, I'm leaving. That doesn't make me a punk. I shouldn't have been there in the first place. And Karmelo Anthony was suspended. So he had so many opportunities to avoid a situation. But the common denominator all comes back down to the knife. He could have got in trouble. He could have got suspended. He could have been sent to an alternative school, maybe for a semester, or maybe even the whole full school year, or maybe even going to next to the following school year. But he wouldn't be serving 30 plus years in jail, and Austin Metcalf would still be alive. The man wants to stab somebody in the heart like he's a vampire. Like it's a scene from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. If you had a knife, you could have scared, you could have, pulled it out. And even then, he would have got in trouble because that is still a felony by pulling out a pocket knife. You know what I'm saying? He could have said, back up, bruh, back up. He could have teased. He could have, played possum with the knife. Then also, what I don't understand is that Karmelo Anthony disposed of the knife. Why would you dispose of something that you use as self-defense? Why? What are you hiding? Also, he ran to his coach talking about, is Austin Metcalf going to be okay? No, he's not going to be okay. You took him out. He's bleeding out as you're crying to your coach like a little bitch. He's bleeding everywhere. And it's a traumatizing experience for everyone around the school. That school won't be the same because of an emotional decision of pulling out a knife because you got pushed. But you have grown folks talking about Carmelo Anthony is a victim. Crazy word.
It's about Carmelo as well. And you'll see a picture right here of Carmelo Anthony. These are pictures probably from his Instagram. Self-defense is not a crime. So that's basically with the tensions being high here. You can see, I mean, we're not here to support anybody, but we're already having things thrown at us. Well, we don't have to do that.
Angry and upset. His family members over there.
Okay.
So you're agitated.
Oh, those are family members.
You're agitated.
Okay, cool. We'll come back. Yeah, you're good. All right, well, we don't have to go, but basically what you see here, the same problem you're going to see completely every single time is that people who support Carmelo kind of know he's guilty and he's going to go to prison. I would be kind of upset.
I'm dancing, you ain't gonna do shit. 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 I'm dancing.
So Carmelo Anthony takes somebody's life away, and you got this man jumping up and down in front of a white person talking about I'm gangster, you ain't gonna do shit. What? Once again, when these unfortunate situations occur, such as the Charlie Kirk, rest in peace, or any other white person, if they're going to glorify, this is hidden racism. He's so happy. This man that's talking about I'm gangster, you ain't gonna do shit, by making this content, he actually got exposed and he got arrested. I think for multiple felony accounts. I saw a picture on the web of his accounts. I should have took a screenshot, but yeah, he was so racist that he wanted to showcase this man, the hatred that relies in his heart, that he put himself in a little situation to now he's facing legal charges. Donkey of the day goes to the clown on the screen trying to prove a point, making his situation worse. Racism still is alive, ladies and gentlemen.
Was it racism that got Carmelo Anthony convicted of murder, or was it the fact that he stabbed a man in the...
Hold on. Something caught my eye in the chat. ZVY says Recreation Park in Texas, not a school. So ZVY, the track meet where Austin Metcalf passed away, that is school property. That is not a common park open for the public. Even though the public can go to that track meet, some can, and work out. We've seen high schools around the neighborhood and members among the neighborhood go to work out, run around the track. Still, that is school property. That is trespassing. If they wanted to, they could put trespassing. That is not a recreational park. They was at school property. Yard, shout out to Yard for the super chat of the first super chat of the day. I appreciate you for sponsoring the show. Yard says, I have no dog in this fight. He should have just apologized and showed remorse and pled guilty and probably could have gotten 10 years. The parents failed him. 100%. Shout out to Yard. Oh, Yard, sorry. I put the wrong soundbite. Absolutely. The damage has already been done. Carmelo Anthony, all he had to do was be apologetic as much as he can, and he would have gotten a lesser deal, because we've seen people doing the same thing, if not worse, even though these same people was a lighter skin complexion. Let me know in the chat, does that make a difference? Doing the same crime but getting lesser time. But Carmelo Anthony, this man wasn't sympathetic. So you're not sympathetic, but you wanted to commit the crime. And now you're crying because you got 35 years. How does that make sense? If you're going to do something and be unapologetic, like, this is not a game. You should go to the courtroom extremely apologetic saying, you know what, I was very emotional. Unfortunately, I took a life that is no longer going to be here. I take full accountability for my actions. And if you can give me the opportunity to see the light of day again, I will go back out into society and tell others and use my life as an example to not act based on emotion, because emotion can put you in big trouble. And what great message could Karmelo Anthony have to the youth, saying, don't be like me, be better than me. If you find yourself in a situation to where your life is on the line, run. That doesn't make you a coward, because me trying to prove a point, well, not me, Karmelo Anthony, I'm just speaking in terms of him, what he should have said. Me trying to prove a point cost me my whole life. When I could have just ran, I could have went to a coach. The coach could have got involved. You know, even though Karmelo Anthony was suspended, he would have probably told Karmelo Anthony to leave the premises. But nevertheless, Austin Metcalf will still be alive and life will still be moving, not in direction that is currently moving. Nasty work. I'm going to go to the video footage of the tape that they're saying is fake. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're in the building, do me a favor and like the video. Also, let me know your take of this case. And also, vote in the polls. We got 278 votes in Karmelo Anthony using a knife at school self-defense. 76% says Karmelo Anthony using a knife is not self-defense. And people are saying, yes, it is self-defense. Crazy work.
Okay. He put his hands on me. I told him not to. He put his hands on me.
And this photo of the Ozark Trail.
He put his hands on me. I told him to not put his hands on me. He put his hands on me. I told him to not put his hands on me. That is the guy that took out Austin Metcalf. Now you're sorry. Now you're apologetic. You should have felt like that before you put out the pocket knife. But now you want to feel some type of way. My dude, you were at a track meet. You're not in a bar somewhere in a restroom. As soon as you go to the restroom, you see 10 dudes coming right behind you trying to jump you with the inside the restroom. It's not that type of case.
Suspect. Okay. He put his hands on me. I told him not to. He put his hands on me.
And this photo of the Ozark Trail multi-tool knife that prosecutor.
Look at the knife that's used to delete Austin Metcalf. But a lot of people were saying that the knife that was used was from shop in high school. And it wasn't a real pocket knife. It was some type of object that was used in class. All the excuses in the book, except for self-accountability. Why cannot accountability be displayed for somebody's actions? Why is there so many excuses just because he's black?
Say Anthony used to fatally stab Metcalf is part of the trial exhibits that jurors saw during the murder trial, and audio from the.
There you go. There you go. Someone said it in the chat. Let me highlight it real quick. Tour says they were saying it was a cleat sharpener. Yeah, you're allowed to carry a cleat sharpener, but they were saying the pocket knife was a cleat sharpener. Like, does that look like a cleat sharpener to you, ladies and gentlemen? Like, they just completely lied about the weapon of choice that was used. There was no confusion. How does a cleat sharpener and a pocket knife get confused? So they're just blatantly just lying to defend Karmelo Anthony like he's the victim, completely ignoring the life of Austin Metcalf. Regardless if he was racist, if he said the hard ER in the word N-I-G-G-E-R, they allegedly said that he said that to Karmelo Anthony. That doesn't justify responding with a knife. Stop the cap.
Got to have vision.
The 911 calls to police following the deadly stabbing were also made public. Listen.
Frisco 911, what is the location of the emergency?
Hi, we're at Titan Stadium. My friend just got stabbed.
Okay, do you know who stabbed him?
We have no clue. He was sitting in our tent, but you need to send an ambulance right now.
They're on the way, okay? Give me a description of the person that stabbed him.
He was wearing a gray Essentials hoodie.
And this surveillance video shows Anthony fleeing the tent where he stabbed Metcalf. A jury found the now 19-year-old guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced him to 35 years in prison earlier this month. The judge, reflecting on his decision to release this evidence now, saying this, quote, "I understand the public's desire to know what happened in the courtroom. The overwhelming focus on my ruling regarding the media in the courtroom was to protect the process, witnesses, and jury. Now that the trial is over, it is important to me to provide transparency."
It's on me. I told him not to. He put his hands on me.
What's happening right now? Victim, over here on the north end. They got staff standing to him right now. This is the alleged suspect. Already? No. Can we search them? Got nothing. I don't know what happened.
Went in front of them, went past. Right. The other four went and they surrounded Karmelo. You know, if you're Karmelo.
And they showed that on that video.
It's on the video.
Okay, come on.
You can see them walk
I'm gonna
up.
say little
And
stuff.
I'll put it this way.
Okay.
They actually tell you when you're watching the video, pay attention to this corner right here, because if you look anywhere.
Now, that Karmelo was not in fact fighting for his life when he stabbed and killed Austin Metcalf. Do you think that the black community will accept that?
If evidence shows that he did not, no, we're going to stand by ours regardless. They stand by theirs.
If evidence comes out that Karmelo Anthony is wrong, you're still going to stand behind them? Stop the cap.
Stop the cap.
All right, so I've heard a lot about justice for Karmelo, right?
Yeah. Justice for Karmelo. I would have stabbed that nigga too.
Why?
Hey, I would have did it to him. I promise I would have. I would have did it to him.
But why?